Welcome back to our channel, my fellow Port Charles devoted. Today is Friday, a truly beautiful day to dive into the absolute masterclass of storytelling we are currently witnessing on our screens. Grab your coffee, settle in, and let's get right into it. I have to start by talking about that absolutely gut-wrenching scene at the Quartermain Mansion pool, because I am still reeling from the emotional whiplash of it all. When Willow Kane softly asked Brooke Lynn if she could hold baby Phoebe, I felt this overwhelming wave of tragic irony wash over me. I think the writers are doing something incredibly brilliant here. We know Willow is currently drowning in absolute chaos. Her husband Drew is paralyzed. She is desperately trying to manage Jack Brennan, and she is constantly looking over her shoulder. Yet, in this moment, she is standing there, completely vulnerable, just wanting to hold a sweet baby. I feel like this is the best they've written Willow in months, because they are highlighting her profound capacity for maternal love right at the exact moment she is being ruthlessly betrayed. When Brooke Lynn just smiled and handed Phoebe over, the way the sunlight caught Brooke Lynn's fake, accommodating grin gave me absolute chills. It wasn't just a friendly exchange. It was a predator, playing with her food. I know a lot of people in the fandom are saying this storyline is dragging or that Brooke Lynn is going too far by framing Willow for Jordan Ashford's crash, but I actually think the slow burn is exactly what's needed, because I feel like the psychological warfare is the whole point of this arc. The way I interpret it, Brooke Lynn's internal guilt about leaving the scene of that crash is eating her alive, and projecting that guilt onto Willow is her twisted, desperate survival mechanism. When Willow looked down at Phoebe, with that sheer deep baby love in her eyes, you could almost see Brooke Lynn rationalizing her own underhanded plot in real time. I believe Brooke Lynn accommodates Willow not just because a denial would look suspicious, but because she wants to savor the illusion of control. I loved the way the camera lingered on Willow's gentle hands, cradling the infant, contrasting so violently with the dark, looming reality that Brooke Lynn and Lucy Coe are actively destroying Willow's life behind the scenes. And speaking of the Quartermain Mansion, can we please talk about the absolute masterclass in tension happening in the breakfast room between Harrison Chase and Tracy Quartermain? I genuinely think we're missing the point if we just view this as standard family bickering. When Tracy took that slow, deliberate sip from her bright red coffee mug, peering over the rim with that iconic smug expression, I actually cheered at my screen. I feel so incredibly invigorated by this scene because it perfectly encapsulates Tracy's dominance and her refusal to back down. The red mug itself felt like a deliberate prop choice by the director to signal danger, authority, and the fiery conflict brewing in that house. Chase standing there, demanding that they have it out, was such a powerful moment of him finally drawing a line in the sand against the Quartermain matriarch. I feel like Chase is carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders right now, and his dialogue in the scene completely backed up my take. He is so incredibly tired of Tracy's constant interference in his marriage to Brooke Lynn and her relentless accusations about him having an affair with his ex-wife Willow. I know some fans complain that Chase is being gullible when it comes to Willow, especially since she is legally married to Drew Kane, but the way I see it, Chase's unwavering defense of Willow is rooted in his fundamental, unshakable need to see the good in people. When he told Tracy there wouldn't be any peace until they settled this, I felt a massive surge of pride for him. He isn't just defending Willow, he is defending his own autonomy as a husband and a man. He desperately wants to protect his pending adoption of Phoebe, and Tracy's chaotic, suspicious energy is threatening the very foundation of his future. I think the writer's choice to have this confrontation over morning tea was brilliant because it grounded this massive emotional explosion in the mundane reality of family life. Transitioning over to the PCPD, I am absolutely captivated by the legal chess game Joe Fitzpatrick is playing. When Joe walked up to Acting District Attorney Justine Turner with that unusual request, I felt a genuine thrill because it shows the procedural side of the show is firing on all cylinders. I think Joe is proving to be one of the most observant, sharpest detectives in Port Charles right now. The way he utilized those leading questions with Drew Kane, who, as we know, is paralyzed and can only communicate through blinks, was a stroke of investigative genius. I feel so incredibly invested in this specific plot point because it relies on pure intellect and legal maneuvering rather than just gunfights and explosions. It makes the police work feel tangible and real. The way I interpret Joe's request to ban Chase from the case files is that it highlights the brilliant, messy overlap of personal and professional lives in Port Charles. Chase essentially acted as Willow's attorney when Joe was trying to question her outside the Kane house, and Joe is entirely right to call out that massive conflict of interest. When Joe leaned over Justine's desk and laid out his reasoning, I felt this immense satisfaction because the writers are actually respecting the legal consequences of these characters' actions. I believe this is setting up a massive ethical dilemma for Chase. He is a cop, but his lingering affection and loyalty to Willow is blinding him to the fact that she is drowning in secrets. I love that the show is using Joe Fitzpatrick as the catalyst to force Chase to choose between his badge and his heart. It is character-driven drama at its absolute finest. Now, we have to talk about the sheer terror and brilliance of the Windermere captivity storyline. When the scene shifted to the dark, claustrophobic captivity compound beneath the castle, the sudden change in lighting immediately made my heart race. Jocelyn Jackson Cassius Faison clashing in the shadows is, in my opinion, some of the most compelling television we've seen all year. I feel like the writers are giving Jocelyn the ultimate hero's journey right now. Cassius is desperately trying to redeem himself by promising to get Jocelyn and his mother, Liesel Obrecht, out of that compound, but Jocelyn's refusal to leave until they stop Ross Cullum is just breathtakingly brave. She is standing in the belly of the beast, fully aware of the danger, and choosing to fight. I know a lot of people are saying this spy storyline is too convoluted, or that it takes away from the grounded hospital drama, but I actually think the high stakes are exactly what this show needs, because I feel like it pushes these characters to their absolute limits. When Jocelyn looked Cassius dead in the eye and argued that their escape means nothing if Cullum succeeds in getting Caesar Faison's cold fusion project online, I literally got goosebumps. I think Jocelyn is absolutely right here, and her dialogue proves that she has fully embraced her secret WSB agent status. She isn't just Carly's daughter anymore. She is a warrior protecting the world. The way she emphasized that Cullum is a double agent working for the DVX made me feel so incredibly proud of her character growth. She is looking at the big picture, willing to sacrifice her own safety to prevent a global catastrophe. And let's not overlook Cassius Faison in this moment. The way I see it, Cassius is a deeply tragic figure who is finally waking up to the monster he has been serving. When he tried to convince Jocelyn to just run, you could hear the raw, frantic desperation in his voice. I feel like this is the most layered, complex performance we've gotten from this character since he dropped his Nathan West facade. He just wants to save his mother Liesel and get out alive so he can say a final goodbye to James West. But Jocelyn is forcing him to realize that you cannot just walk away from evil, you have to actively destroy it. I loved the way the director framed them in that tight, intimate shot, highlighting the ideological war happening between a man who wants to flee his sins and a young woman who is ready to stand and fight the legacy of César Faison. Meanwhile, Jordan Ashford's relentless pursuit of Jen Sidwell is giving me absolute life. When Jordan was shown asking an unseen contact for help, whom I strongly believe is Brick, given the context, I felt this incredible surge of anticipation. Jordan is officially off the leash. Since she's on a leave of absence, she isn't bound by PCPD red tape or protocol, and I think that makes her incredibly dangerous to her enemies. When she explained that she couldn't get any dirt on her former boss turned legitimate businessman, the raw frustration in her voice was palpable. I feel like Jordan's storyline is the perfect slow burn mystery. Sidwell has been slithering around Port Charles, blackmailing Sonny Corinthos out of his peers, and violently harassing people, and Jordan is the only one who truly sees the entire, terrifying web he's weaving. I genuinely think we're missing the point if we don't recognize how perfectly the writers have positioned Jen Sidwell as the ultimate insidious threat to Port Charles. He doesn't just use brute force, he uses deception cosmetics as a front, hiding in plain sight while manipulating the town's elite. When Jordan mentioned that Sidwell's latest appearance was at Drew Kane's house, I felt a tight knot form in my stomach. The interconnectedness of these storylines is just brilliant. Jordan's determination to take him down, even when she is supposed to be resting and recovering, proves exactly why she is one of the strongest, most resilient characters on this canvas. I loved the subtle, fiery intensity in her eyes during that scene. It made me feel like she is a coiled spring just waiting to strike, and I am entirely here for her rogue justice era. Finally, I have to talk about the climax of the episode in Tortola, British Virgin Islands, because it completely shattered my heart into a million pieces. When Dante Falconeri and Lulu Spencer finally arrived at that tropical hideout to collect Rocco, the tension was so thick you could cut it with a knife. But it was that final, breathless moment, when Lulu stood at the door and confronted Britt Westbourne, that truly left me speechless. When Lulu looked at her and asked, "Going somewhere?" The sheer weight of their shared history, their rivalries, and their complex family dynamics came crashing down on me. I feel like this is the emotional peak of the entire summer storyline. The way the bright, beautiful island scenery contrasted with the dark, terrifying reality of Britt's situation was just a cinematic triumph. The way I interpret Britt's reaction in that scene is pure, unadulterated terror, but not for herself, for Rocco. We know Britt's Huntington's disease is ramping up rapidly. She is sick, she is exhausted, and she has been living in constant fear that Ross Cullum is going to find them and finish what he started. When the camera zoomed in on Britt's cornered, panicked expression, I actually started crying. I think the writers are doing a phenomenal job of showcasing Britt's maternal, selfless love for Rocco. She had just tried to talk Rocco into leaving if she got sicker, and now here are Dante and Lulu, the physical embodiment of the safety she desperately wants for that boy. I know some fans might think Lulu was being too harsh or combative with that opening line, but I actually think it was perfect, because I feel like it highlighted the immense, unstoppable, protective fury of a mother who has been separated from her child for far too long. What makes this Tortola scene so utterly brilliant is the lingering, terrifying question of Rocco's whereabouts. Will Rocco agree to go with them, or did he already slip out of the house in a panic? When Britt stood there, cornered and vulnerable at the door, I felt this profound sense of tragedy because she knows her time on the run, and perhaps her time in general, is coming to a rapid end. She has sacrificed everything to keep that boy safe from Cullum. I believe this episode was a total masterpiece of character-driven storytelling. From Willow's desperate grasp for normalcy holding baby Phoebe, to Jocelyn's heroic, defiant stand in the Windermere dungeons, to Britt's heartbreaking final stand in the Caribbean, every single scene felt earned, grounded, and deeply personal. I am so incredibly in love with where this show is heading right now, and I cannot wait to see how these beautiful, messy, complicated characters navigate the massive storms that are about to hit Port Charles.